All right, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino, on another record-setting day on Wall Street, another all-time high for the stock market. The S&P 500 is now going where no man or woman has gone before. We're going to talk more about that. The stage here is set for a lot of things to happen, and I'm going to give you a blow-by-blow. Again, like I said, we're going to cover a lot of things here. So yeah, post-market wrap-up on this Thursday, August 27th, 2020. I know everyone loves the stock market. Everyone wants to look at the stock market. Yeah. Rah, rah, rah. We're all doing good, right? Okay, but I told you this morning to watch the 10-year yield. It went from 0.68 to 0.75. That is a monumental move. What does it mean? Okay, I can say this all I want to, but what does it mean? When the 10-year yield rises like that, it means cash is coming out of the debt market. It's making its way into the stock market, henceforth why we hit another record high with regard to the S&P 500. The Dow put on a nice gain too. The Nasdaq actually finished in the negative here, but tech gains have been off the Richter scale recently. So whatever. Again, the stage is set here for bigger moves. So let's talk about that real quick. Okay, so an epic move with regard to the debt market. 10-year yield, insane to make a move like that. Dollar flat. We'll talk more about that too. Why is it that despite what we heard today, and I really want to talk about this from Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell, gold got hit, silver got hit, and cryptocurrency got hit. Okay, what exactly did the Federal Reserve say? I mean, they were supposed to make some monumental announcement today. Well, look, was it a monumental announcement? I'm going to say yes and no, because we know the game. You and I already understand what was about to happen. I actually covered this yesterday in a tweet I put out, and I posted on Facebook what I believed what would occur. And that's exactly what did happen. So let's talk about that real quick. So the Federal Reserve is making a monetary policy change. And they are going to work very hard to not just hit their 2% inflation target, but exceed it. Now, how does the Fed do it? How does the Federal Reserve attempt to at least create inflation? They're not explaining to anyone here how inflation is going to help them. Okay, you understand that if you do start to see inflation, it's going to make your life harder. You got that? Okay, I didn't hear one politician come out today and speak out against it. I did not hear President Trump speak out against it. I did not hear Biden speak out against it. Why? Because let me explain this to you again for the gazillionth time. President Trump licks the dirty feet of Jay Powell, and so will Biden. Both feet. Okay, you understand that? I'm going to put another perspective on that too very, very soon, but let's go forward here. So the Federal Reserve is promising to exceed their inflation targets here. What's not inflating? Tell me something around us that's not inflating. We all shop. Those prices are going up. The stock market just hit a new all-time record. Gold, except for today and yesterday, I mean, gold is on a trajectory. Cryptocurrency is on a trajectory higher. The dollar is dying, okay? That's how they create inflation, by killing the dollar in its current form. You understand? I've covered this to the point of nauseum as of late. So the Federal Reserve is explaining that what they're about to do, and again, no secret to you, because I told you this from, I don't know, weeks and weeks and months and months and months ago, they're going to balloon their balance sheets, meaning they're going to buy assets with cash they print out of thin air. And they're going to print it out of thin air at a faster speed than you can possibly imagine. Okay, I've warned about this, and now it's in your face right out of the mouth of Fed Chair Jay Powell. So let's talk about that. We got A promise of more easy money on an unprecedented scale. Sound familiar? I've talked about this over and over again before the announcement today. Asset purchases to keep rates suppressed. Let's talk about that. The Federal Reserve has explained that they are going to keep rates at zero pretty much forever. That's been the game plan. But now it's infinite. An infinite environment of suppressed rates, which of course robs savers blind. Did you hear Trump speak out about that? Did you hear Biden speak out about that? No, because they're not on your side. Either one of these puppets. Every president is a puppet, and we're going to talk about that too a little bit more. I'm going to prove that to you if you don't believe me. So anyway, why is it that despite the promise of easy money, like there's no tomorrow, there is no tomorrow for many people here in the United States and the middle class, but there is a very bright tomorrow for Wall Street, for the corporate agenda, for the Superbanks. You understand? That's how this is going to play out. That's why stocks hit a record high today. All right. So again, despite the promise of all this easy money, you got cryptos under pressure, you got gold under pressure, you got silver under pressure, and you got a sell-off here in the debt market. Why? We're talking about paper derivatives here, okay? The non-existent fake market with regard to precious metals, which I want you to think about this. It's upside down. In the modern world here, the price of physical gold and physical silver derive value from a derivative. Okay, gold and silver, SLV, GLD, derivatives, they're derivatives. But it's mind-blowing to think about. But the price of actual gold and silver derives value from a derivative. It's upside down. Why? So they can rig the market. Bank after bank gets caught rigging the market. Again, just, what bank was that? One bank recently just got caught rigging, again, the metals markets for 8 years. Thousands of times they had to pay a fine. And this is something we've heard over and over again. It's laughable. It's absolutely laughable. So when you have an environment where you have a Federal Reserve that's promising to inflate, no surprise, to create inflation, okay, and it's going to be very difficult for them because we have a dead economy. We just got the lowest GDP print in history. U.S. gross domestic product just hit an all-time low, historic low. But again, we're in a V-shaped recovery. You know that. So don't forget. But anyway, maybe we'll talk more about that. I'm just getting so sick of it. The lies. I can't take the lies anymore. I really can't. But so what I want to do here is let you understand why gold fell, silver fell, because again, it's the derivative. It's the risk on trade now. And the Federal Reserve just took this a step further. The Federal Reserve is now, and if you have any doubt that this is about to happen, what I'm going to tell you, then you really don't have a clue. The Federal Reserve said today they are considering direct payments to Wall Street. Yes, we already understand that the banks have a main line directly to the Federal Reserve. We'll talk more about that too, I promise you. And they're also talking about direct payments to corporations that have been affected by COVID-19. Direct payments, not just buying their debt. We understand that the Federal Reserve is buying corporate debt. It's no secret. Look it up for yourself. They're buying debt of Dow components. However, the Fed's now saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to send cash directly to these corporations. Oh, yeah. And it gets better than that, too. So what I'm going to do now, I want to do a blow-by-blow for you, what transpired today. And you're just, of course, going to be stunned. I already talked about with the Federal Reserve. More easy money on an unprecedented scale. Imagine my shock. That's what I was writing this. Initially, there was a nice spike here. Gold and silver spiked today earlier when Yellowstein was talking about, money printing into oblivion. And, of course, that did reverse throughout the day because the market realizes the Fed is going to pump it and then pump it some more. And then we're going to hear from certain politicians touting the stock market as our economy is in free fall. It's absolutely incredible here. Let's see. Basically, this is what they said here. The Federal Reserve states the U.S. economy is in trouble and therefore will maintain suppression of rates. This means much more, translation, much more money creation out of thin air and massive amounts of asset purchases. That's how they keep rates low. The Fed just can't say it. They have to get into the debt market and buy the debt with cash they just make. You understand? That's how it works. I think you got that already here. Let's see what else here. How about this one? Did you see Jim Cramer today? When Jim Cramer, live on CNBC, was putting together in his head what the Federal Reserve said, the man was, again, in an orgasmic state. I mean, he was spraying his shorts. Oh! Because he realizes what this means. Stocks are going higher, and I mean much, much higher. So again, as the middle class gets decimated, you lose. You lose. New Fed policy, infinite lower rates, and infinite money printing. Imagine my shock once again. Let's move forward here. Let me just bring this up real quick. If you recall, I talked about fancy traders yesterday. I don't like fancy trading. I know a lot of traders, some that were writing to me were like, Greg, I'm short this market going into the Fed. Well, you got annihilated, and I feel bad for you. So stop the fancy trading. Let me put this into perspective for you. If you talk to a successful trader, okay, they very rarely take excessive risk. As a matter of fact, if you were to ask a successful trader how they make money in the market, invariably, they're going to say one thing. Are you ready for it? I sell too soon. That's the truth. You know me. I always tell you, it's never wrong to pull profits. I pulled profits all day today, and I posted exactly what I did in my newsletter. There's a link in the description of this video. It's completely free for you. I posted it on my social networks. That's the secret here to being a successful trader. Always sell too soon. And you don't care where the stock or the ETF goes, the option goes after you sell it. You could sell it and make a 2% profit the next 5 minutes. It shoots up. You would have made 10%. Does it really matter? Does it really matter? No. You simply rotate into another position, or you sit back and you wait. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, okay? As a matter of fact, I have 2 positions open now, just 2. Again, if you're a subscriber to my newsletter, because I work very hard to try to keep you on top of this for free, you know exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, what I'm buying, how I'm buying it, how I'm finessing it, what I'm doing. It couldn't be easier for you. So you understand? Every single successful trader on earth is going to tell you the same thing. They always sell too soon. All right, let's move forward. I talked about the dollar index today earlier, and I mentioned watching the 10-year yield. 10-year yield, I mean, unbelievable. What a move higher. And you knew where stocks were going to go by observing the 10-year yield. Dollar flat. Dollar is a dying asset. Dying asset here. Let's move forward here, people. Now, this is what I want to talk about. So Goldman Sachs is explaining, this is what they said. The U.S. dollar is struggling, and that could give a shot in the arm for global growth. What they're trying to tell you is the U.S. dollar is struggling at the expense of American citizens, the middle class, any class, I guess, for that matter, although the rich really don't care about, because they got too many dollars anyway, you understand? So again, U.S. dollar is struggling, but that will give a shot in the arm to global growth. Global markets, global stock markets. You understand? You can't know that. They have to word this in a specific way because they think you're stupid. I know for a fact that you're not stupid. All right, let's move forward here a little bit. Now, I want to talk about this. This is the headline. Second quarter GDP here in the United States plunged by the worst ever, 31.7%. Our economy is in free fall. It could not be worse. So again, when you hear anything to the contrary, realize what's happening. You're hearing a lie and you're accepting it. You're accepting the lie. Instead of speaking out against it, you sit back like you're supposed to and shut your mouth like you're supposed to. Me, I don't do that. I don't do that at all. You got to understand what's going on. Now we have Larry Kudlow. Here's Larry Cullen. Here's the headline. Our economic health is coming back. This is a lie. It's a blatant lie. It's in your face. And how many of you will speak out about it? I guess that depends on which side of the aisle you're on, because it's more important whatever party is in power than to tell the truth. If you ask me, that's satanic. Okay? You're embracing the dark side. Now let me ask you this too. Talking about Larry Kudlow and the president and the lies. So in your opinion, okay, what would be a better policy for President Trump here in this election cycle? Trump to run on admitting that the economy is in bad shape and laying out a plan of what he's going to do to fix it, or maintain the lie of a super V recovery. Again, accept the lie. I guess you're on the side of the devil. I don't know how you want to put that together, but lies come from one place. You know where that is. Okay, let's move forward here. Let me read this too real quick, and I'm not beating up on the president. I want to just say this again, and I actually talk about how I would support the president. Here we go. This is me. I do not know how the president can do this at this point, but I truly believe if he would simply state, the U.S. economy is in trouble, everyone, and then lay out that plan like I just spoke about, many more people would support him. I would back him as myself. But I just can't tolerate the lies. I don't think many people can tolerate it anymore. It's gone to a point where either you're on the dark side or you're not. I want to ignore that. Let's talk about this. This is a big one here, okay? Airlines are threatening to lay off tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of workers if they do not get a second bailout. Think about what I just said. The airlines who already got a bailout want a second, and they're threatening right here. I post links to all this stuff that I'm talking about. They're threatening a massacre with regard to laying people off if they don't get a second bailout. How is that even legal? Doesn't that sound like extortion to you? To me, it does. And I want to ask you straight out, are you for or against another airline bailout? How about this one? In your opinion, are corporate bailouts more like socialism or more like capitalism? Or is this something completely different? I want to hear your take on that too. All right, let's move on here, people. I already covered this, and I'm going to read this to you. The Fed is now talking about making direct payments to entire industries and corporations affected by COVID-19. This helps them finish their final solution to be the lender and buyer of last resort. This is their goal since 1913. You all know that. It's crazy. Now, how about this? How can we ever have a real market when the Federal Reserve can create all the cash it wants to, just out of thin air, and then funnel it to Wall Street? I don't understand how we'll ever be able to have a real market ever again. It's too much. Now let me ask you this too. I want you to pay attention to this, people, because it goes back to what I was talking about earlier in the banks and their power. If you took, and I did a whole breakdown of this, and I posted it on Facebook and Twitter, so if you want to see this, the 7 largest banks on Wall Street, just 7 of them, and you add up their total assets combined, that just seven superbanks on Wall Street, it would exceed the gross domestic product of every nation on earth except the United States. Now, if you were to take that a step further, if you were to take every single super bank around the world and add up their assets that they have on their books, okay, it would eclipse global GDP, including the United States. I personally think that super banks are a threat to the world. I would love to hear your take on that as well. It's pretty monumental here. Again, how do you think it ends when today the combined assets of world superbanks is greater than the total global gross domestic product? Crazy. It's absolutely so sick, but that's the way it is right now. How many of you know this, and I want to bring this to your attention while we're talking about superbanks? We understand that repeatedly the LIBOR rate has been rigged repeatedly, again, for years. Now, in 2019, the end of 2019, There was another inquiry into LIBOR rigging with the Bank of England. I think you probably remember that. It wasn't that long ago. How many of you even know? And it's right here. I posted this for you. That entire inquiry all of a sudden just got shut down, closed down. They're not looking into it anymore. Did you even know that? Let me explain to you why. If the corruption were actually brought to light, what's involved in not just LIBOR rigging, but rigging of the entire markets, it would rattle the entire financial system. And that will not be allowed. These super banks can do anything they want at any time, period, the end. Anyway, so I think I put a lot of perspective on this environment for you, and I want to hear from you. I really do. Ponder what I've spoken about here. Are you happy about what the Federal Reserve is doing right now? That they've now assured Wall Street yet again that more easy money in any amount that they need is going to be coming at the expense of the people here? Are you happy that the Federal Reserve is considering making direct payments to corporations that have been buying back shares of their own stock for over a decade? The Federal Reserve is considering making direct payments to these corporations because they've been affected by COVID-19, while at the same time buying their debt. Does that sound right to you? Or does something feel wrong or off? I want you to think about those things. I think it's pretty important here. And I want to get your opinion too. Do you believe that Superbanks should even exist? Do you believe that just the 7 top banks on Wall Street, their GDP, their gross assets are higher than the GDP of every country on earth except the United States. But if you put them all together in aggregate, it's more than total GDP of the world. Does that sound right to you as well? Yeah, I want to hear from you. And all the other stuff I talked about in this video, it might even be worth watching twice. I think it's very important. Please, people, help me out. Help yourself out. Help out the world. Make a difference. You know how you do that? You share this. You get it out there on every single social network that you have. All right? And I hope you do. This guy here loves you a lot. See you in the morning.